Michael's hands trembled as he gripped the steering wheel, watching the rain streak across the windshield. 23 years of marriage, and he'd never questioned Rebecca's faithfulness. Not once. She was his college sweetheart, the mother of their 2 teenage daughters, his partner in building the life they shared in their suburban home. But lately, something had shifted. It started 6 months ago, when Rebecca joined a new gym. She'd always been health conscious, but suddenly she was going 5 times a week, sometimes twice a day. She bought new workout clothes, expensive ones, and started wearing makeup to her sessions. When Michael mentioned it, she laughed it off. "I'm just taking better care of myself," she said, kissing his cheek. "Don't you want your wife to look good?" Then came the late-night texts. Rebecca's phone would buzz during dinner, and she'd glance at it with a small smile before setting it face down. When he asked about it, she said it was just her trainer, Derek, sending workout schedules and nutrition tips. "He's very dedicated," she explained. "That's why he's so good at his job." Michael tried to ignore the unease growing in his chest. Rebecca started working late more often, coming home flushed and energized in ways that evening meetings at her marketing firm had never produced before. When he suggested they spend more time together, she seemed distracted, always checking her phone. One evening, he came home early from a business trip. Rebecca was in the shower, and her phone lit up on the nightstand. The message preview made his blood run cold. "Can't stop thinking about this afternoon." When she emerged, wrapped in a towel, hair dripping, Michael asked about Derek. "What about him?" Rebecca's voice was casual, but her eyes wouldn't meet his. "How often do you see him?" "Michael, he's my trainer. I see him when I work out." She moved to her closet, selecting clothes with unusual care. "Why are you being weird about this?" "I'm not being weird. I just think you're spending a lot of time at the gym." Rebecca turned to face him, her expression a mixture of frustration and something else. Guilt, maybe. "Are you seriously doing this? Accusing me of something because I'm trying to stay healthy?" "I didn't accuse you of anything." "You implied it." She pulled on jeans and a sweater. "Derek is my friend, Michael. Just my friend. He's helped me feel confident again after years of letting myself go. I'm sorry if that threatens you." The argument dissolved into apologies and reassurances. Rebecca held him that night, whispering that she loved him, that she'd never betray him. They made love for the first time in weeks, and Michael desperately wanted to believe everything was fine. But the late nights continued. The secretive texts persisted. Rebecca started going to training sessions on weekends, sometimes disappearing for 3 or 4 hours. When Michael suggested meeting Derek, Rebecca became defensive. "Why? So you can interrogate him? I told you, he's just a friend. You're being paranoid." Michael tried to push his doubts aside. He focused on work, tried to trust his wife, told himself he was being irrational. But late at night, lying beside Rebecca as she slept, he couldn't shake the feeling that she was already gone, that whatever they'd built together was crumbling beneath the weight of a truth he was too afraid to confirm. The rain intensified, hammering against the car. Michael sat in the parking lot outside Derek's apartment building, knowing he shouldn't be there, knowing he was crossing a line, but he had to know. Michael waited until Rebecca left for what she called a morning training session. He'd seen the address on a package delivery notification on her iPad. She'd ordered something sent to Derek's apartment, claiming it was protein powder he'd recommended that she was having delivered to his place since he could get a discount. The explanation was too elaborate, too specific. People told detailed stories when they were lying. Derek's building was in a newer development across town, the kind with a gym on the first floor and a doorman who barely looked up from his phone. Michael signed in using a fake name, claiming to visit a unit on the 5th floor. His heart pounded as he took the elevator to the 3rd floor, where Derek's apartment was located. He knew this was wrong. He was trespassing, violating his wife's privacy, acting like a character in a bad thriller. But the not knowing was worse than any of this. The doubts had been eating him alive for months. Derek's door was at the end of the hallway. Michael knocked first. His plan was to confront the man directly if he was home. No answer. He tried the handle, not expecting anything. It turned. Michael's breath caught. The apartment was unlocked. He should leave. He should turn around, go home, maybe talk to Rebecca honestly about his concerns. Instead, he stepped inside. The apartment was modern and minimal. Leather furniture, weights in one corner, protein shake bottles on the kitchen counter. Everything was neat except for the bedroom, where the door stood ajar. Michael moved toward it as if pulled by an invisible thread. The bed was unmade, sheets tangled. On the nightstand, he saw Rebecca's sunglasses, the designer ones he'd bought her for their anniversary. His chest tightened. He shouldn't go further. He'd already seen enough. But he found himself kneeling beside the bed, looking underneath, not even sure what he was searching for. His hand touched something soft. He pulled it out. Lace, black and delicate. Rebecca's favorite set. The one she'd claimed went missing in the laundry months ago. The one she'd worn on their wedding night, that she said had sentimental value. Michael sat back on his heels, the fabric clutched in his shaking hands. Then he reached under again. More items emerged. Another bra, matching panties, a silk nightgown he'd never seen before. Each piece felt like a knife twisting deeper into his chest. He heard the key in the lock. Michael froze. Voices in the hallway. Rebecca's laugh, light and carefree, and a man's deeper voice responding. They were coming inside. "Can't believe we have the whole morning," Rebecca was saying. "I told Michael I was doing a double session at the gym." Michael's hands moved frantically, shoving the undergarments back under the bed. He looked around desperately. The closet. He could hide, confront them, force her to face what she'd done. But confrontation required courage he didn't have yet. He needed time to process this, to decide how to handle the complete destruction of his marriage. Michael moved quickly to the bedroom window. It faced a fire escape. He climbed out just as the apartment door opened fully. Through the window, he could see into the living room. Rebecca appeared first, Derek behind her, tall, muscular, younger than Michael had imagined. Derek pulled Rebecca toward him, kissing her deeply. Her hands tangled in his hair, her body pressing against his with a passion Michael hadn't seen in years. "Bedroom," Derek murmured against her neck. "God, yes," Rebecca breathed. Michael turned away, climbing down the fire escape on trembling legs. The metal was cold beneath his hands, matching the ice spreading through his veins. He reached the alley below and leaned against the wall, struggling to breathe. 23 years, 2 daughters, a mortgage, family vacations and inside jokes and shared history. All of it built on what he'd thought was unshakable trust. All of it a lie. Michael drove aimlessly for hours, his mind replaying what he'd seen in an endless, torturous loop. Rebecca's sunglasses on Derek's nightstand, her undergarments hidden beneath his bed like shameful secrets. That kiss, hungry and familiar, the kiss of 2 people who'd done this many times before. He ended up at a park where he and Rebecca used to bring the girls when they were small. The playground equipment had been updated, but the oak trees were the same, their branches spreading like they remembered his family's laughter. His phone buzzed. "Rebecca. Training running late. Grab dinner without me?" Michael stared at the text, imagining her typing it while lying in Derek's bed, skin flushed, hair disheveled. The casual deception was almost worse than the affair itself. How many lies had she told? How many late training sessions and work emergencies had actually been afternoons in another man's arms? He typed back, "Okay." What else could he say? "I know where you are. I found your lingerie under his bed." The words felt too enormous to fit in a text message. Michael drove home as evening fell. The house was too quiet, too full of memories that now felt contaminated. He poured himself a whiskey, something he rarely did, and sat in the living room, staring at their wedding photo on the mantel. Rebecca in white, radiant and young, her eyes full of promise. Had she meant those vows? Or was betrayal always part of who she was, just waiting for the right moment to surface? His phone rang. Their daughter, Emma, calling from college. "Hey Dad, just checking in. How are you and Mum?" Michael's throat tightened. "We're good, sweetheart. How are classes?" They chatted for 20 minutes, and Michael marveled at his ability to sound normal while his world crumbled. When Emma mentioned coming home for spring break, he felt a surge of panic. How would they handle this? Would he and Rebecca even be together by then? After hanging up, Michael climbed the stairs to their bedroom. He stood in the doorway, looking at the bed where they'd slept together for over 2 decades. The intimacy they'd shared felt cheapened now, knowing Rebecca was giving herself to someone else with the same passion, or more. He opened her dresser drawer, the one where she kept her lingerie. The collection was larger than he remembered, with pieces he'd never seen her wear. Had she bought them for Derek? Worn them for him while telling Michael she was too tired, too stressed, too busy? Michael's hands clenched into fists. Anger surged through him, hot and righteous and cleansing. She'd made him doubt himself, made him feel paranoid and controlling when all along his instincts were right. She'd looked him in the eye and lied, over and over, protecting her affair while he protected their marriage. He heard the garage door open. Rebecca was home. Michael quickly closed the drawer and sat on the edge of the bed, trying to compose himself. He heard her footsteps on the stairs, quick and light. She appeared in the doorway, gym bag slung over her shoulder, cheeks pink. "Hey," she said, smiling. "Sorry I'm so late. Derek really pushed me today." Michael looked at her, really looked at her, and saw a stranger. Someone who could compartmentalize betrayal so completely that she came home glowing and relaxed, ready to slip back into playing wife. "How was your day?" she asked, moving to the bathroom to start the shower. "Fine," Michael managed. "Busy." "Mine too. I'm exhausted." She started the water, then called out, "Want to join me?" The invitation made his stomach turn. How could she? How could she go from Derek's bed to inviting her husband into the shower like everything was normal? "I already showered," he lied. "Okay." She emerged wrapped in a towel, kissing the top of his head as she passed. "I'm starving. Want to order Thai?" Michael nodded, not trusting his voice. They ordered food, ate dinner, watched television. Rebecca curled against him on the couch, commenting on the show, completely at ease. Michael sat rigid, every touch feeling like a violation. That night, as she slept beside him, Michael lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He had evidence now, concrete proof of her affair. But having the truth didn't make the next steps any clearer. Confrontation meant destroying their family. Divorce meant splitting assets, hurting their daughters, unraveling decades of shared life. Could he pretend he didn't know? Live with the knowledge, hoping the affair would run its course? No, he couldn't. The images from Derek's apartment were seared into his brain. He would never be able to look at Rebecca the same way again. Tomorrow, he would decide how to proceed. But tonight, he let himself grieve for the marriage that had already ended, lying next to the woman who'd killed it. Michael waited until Saturday morning. Their youngest daughter, Sophie, was spending the weekend at a friend's house, and Emma was at college. They were alone in the house, no interruptions, no witnesses to whatever would unfold. He'd spent the past 3 days gathering more evidence. He'd installed tracking software on their shared cell phone account and watched as Rebecca's location pinged repeatedly at Derek's apartment building when she claimed to be at the gym, at work, running errands. He'd photographed her lingerie drawer, documenting what was missing, items he now knew resided under Derek's bed. He'd also consulted a divorce attorney, just a preliminary meeting, understanding his options. The lawyer had been sympathetic but practical. Document everything. Don't confront until you're ready for the consequences. But Michael couldn't wait anymore. The pretense was destroying him. Every time Rebecca touched him, kissed him, smiled at him, he felt himself fracturing into smaller and smaller pieces. She was in the kitchen making coffee when he came downstairs, her hair pulled back in a ponytail, wearing his old college sweatshirt. She looked so familiar, so much like the woman he'd loved for decades, that for a moment he wavered. Then he remembered her in Derek's arms. "Rebecca, we need to talk." Something in his tone made her turn, coffee mug halfway to her lips. "Okay, what's wrong?" "Who's Derek?" Her eyes widened slightly. "I told you, my trainer. Why?" Michael's voice was quiet but firm. Don't lie to me anymore. I know." The color drained from her face. "Know what?" "I went to his apartment, Rebecca. I saw your things there. Your sunglasses. Your lingerie. The expensive black set you said went missing in the laundry." Rebecca set down her mug with shaking hands. "You went through his apartment? Michael, that's crazy. You can't just—" "How long?" His voice cracked. "How long have you been sleeping with him?" Silence stretched between them. Michael watched his wife's face cycle through emotions: shock, fear, calculation, and finally, resignation. 8 months, she whispered. 8 months. Not the 6 he'd suspected. Longer. So much longer. "And how many times did you lie to my face?" Michael asked. "How many times did you come home from his bed and kiss me, make love to me while pretending everything was fine?" "Michael, how many times did I ask you about him, and you called me paranoid, made me feel crazy for suspecting the truth?" Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. "I never meant for this to happen." "That's what they all say." Michael laughed bitterly. "It just happened, right? You just accidentally fell into bed with him repeatedly for 8 months. All those lies just slipped out." "I was unhappy." Rebecca's voice rose, defensive. "Do you know what it's like feeling invisible in your own marriage? You work all the time. You barely see me." "So you fucked your trainer." Michael's bluntness made her flinch. "That was your solution to being unhappy? Not talking to me? Not couples counseling? Not any of the 1,000 things you could have done that didn't involve betraying everything we built together?" "You don't understand." "Help me understand then." Michael moved closer. "Explain how you justified this. Explain how you looked our daughters in the eye while carrying on an affair. Explain how you slept beside me every night knowing what you were doing." Rebecca was crying now, mascara streaking down her face. "Derek made me feel alive again, young, desired. When I'm with him, I'm not just a wife or a mother. I'm me." "And with me? What are you with me?" "Trapped." The word came out as a sob. "I'm sorry, Michael, but I felt trapped for years. The same routines, the same conversations, the same life day after day. And then Derek, he saw me, really saw me." Michael felt something break inside his chest. "I saw you. I've always seen you. I built a life with you. I chose you every single day for 23 years. But apparently that wasn't enough." "It's not about enough." "Do you love him?" Rebecca's silence was answer enough. "Jesus Christ." Michael turned away, unable to look at her. "You love him?" "Michael, I love you too." "Don't." He held up his hand. "Don't insult me by claiming you love us both. Love doesn't do this. Love doesn't lie and cheat and destroy everything." What do you want me to say? Rebecca's voice was small. That I made a mistake? I did. A huge mistake. But I can't take it back. No, you can't. Michael faced her again. So what now? Do you want to be with him? I don't know. Rebecca wiped her eyes. I don't know what I want. Michael's voice was cold. Well, let me make it simple for you. I want a divorce. The words hung in the air between them, making it real. Rebecca's face crumpled. Michael, please. We can work through this. We can go to counseling, start over. There is no starting over from this. You didn't just break my trust, Rebecca. You shattered it. Every memory we have is tainted now. Every moment of our marriage, I'll wonder if you were lying, if you were thinking of him, if I was enough. You were enough. Obviously not. 3 months later, Michael signed the divorce papers in his attorney's office. The process had been surprisingly civil. Rebecca hadn't fought for much, perhaps out of guilt, perhaps because Derek had already started openly supporting her financially. They'd agreed to split assets evenly, and Rebecca would keep the house until Sophie graduated high school. The girls had taken it hard. Emma had been angry at both of them, at Rebecca for the betrayal, at Michael for giving up on the marriage. Sophie had cried for weeks, her stable world upended. Michael had held her while she sobbed, assuring her that none of this was her fault, that both her parents loved her, even if they couldn't stay together. Did Mom really cheat? Sophie had asked one night, her voice small. Michael had chosen his words carefully. Your mother and I grew apart. Sometimes people make mistakes when they're unhappy. It doesn't make her a bad person, just a flawed one. Like all of us. He refused to poison his daughters against their mother, despite the anger that still burned in his chest. They deserved to maintain that relationship. Whatever Rebecca had done to him, she was still their mother. But maintaining his own relationship with Rebecca was impossible. Every interaction felt loaded with unspoken recrimination. She'd moved in with Derek officially last month, and seeing her happy, or at least trying to appear happy, made Michael feel like his grief meant nothing. His friends had rallied around him. James took him out for drinks every Friday, letting him vent and rage and occasionally cry into his beer. His sister flew in from California to help him pack up his belongings and find a new apartment. You're better off without her, everyone kept saying. She didn't deserve you. Maybe that was true, but it didn't make the loss hurt any less. Michael moved into a sleek downtown apartment, determined to start fresh. He threw himself into work, took up running, tried online dating with minimal success. The women he met were nice enough, but he found himself comparing them all to who he'd thought Rebecca was, not who she actually turned out to be. The younger man froze, clearly recognizing Michael. One evening, he was leaving the gym when he spotted Derek in the parking lot. They stared at each other for a long moment. Michael felt the anger rise, the urge to confront him, to make him understand the devastation he'd helped cause. But what would that accomplish? Derek was just a symptom. Rebecca had made the choice to betray their marriage. Michael walked past without a word. He wouldn't give Derek the satisfaction of his rage. But a week later, Rebecca called. Her voice was strained, uncertain. Can we talk? About what? The lawyers are handling everything. About us. About what happened. Michael sighed. What's there to say, Rebecca? I need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly sorry. I hurt you in ways I can't take back, and I have to live with that. Is Derek there? No. We're taking a break. Michael felt a bitter satisfaction at that. Trouble in paradise? Don't. Her voice was sharp. I didn't call to fight. I called because you deserved better than what I gave you. Our marriage deserved better. I got caught up in the excitement of something new, and I destroyed something real. I know that now. What do you want, Rebecca? Forgiveness? No, I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did. I see it clearly now, and I hate myself for it. Michael closed his eyes. Part of him wanted to twist the knife, to make her hurt the way he'd hurt. But a larger part was just tired. Tired of anger, tired of pain, tired of looking backward. I hope you figure out what you're looking for, he said finally. I hope it makes you happy, because you blew up our family for it. Michael. Goodbye, Rebecca. He hung up and sat in the silence of his apartment. Slowly, he was building a new life. It wasn't the life he'd planned, the one he'd thought he'd have, growing old with Rebecca, becoming grandparents together, celebrating 50 years of marriage. But it was his life, honest and uncluttered by betrayal. 6 months after the divorce was finalized, Michael met someone at a bookstore. Her name was Lauren, and she made him laugh in a way he'd forgotten he could. Their first date was tentative, both of them carrying scars from previous relationships. But there was possibility there, something real and untainted. On their third date, Lauren asked about his marriage. She cheated, Michael said simply, for months, with her trainer. I'm sorry. Me too, but I'm learning that sometimes people aren't who you think they are, and sometimes the life you thought you'd have isn't the one you're meant for. Lauren smiled. That's surprisingly philosophical. Divorce does that to you. They laughed, and in that moment, Michael felt something shift. The anger was still there. It probably always would be, to some degree. The betrayal had left scars that would never fully heal. Finding Rebecca's undergarments under Derek's bed had been the moment his old life ended and his new one began, and he would carry that image with him forever. But he was no longer defined by what Rebecca had done to him. He was defined by how he chose to move forward. And he was choosing to move forward with honesty, with openness, and with hope that real love, the kind that didn't require lies and deception, was still possible. The trust Rebecca had shattered would take years to rebuild, if he could rebuild it at all. But Michael was discovering that he was stronger than he'd known, strong enough to walk away, strong enough to start over, strong enough to believe that his best chapters might still be ahead of him. He wasn't healed, but he was healing. And that was enough.